Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
He is out cold. Wow. Hunter Peterson with a right hand to end that one. You know, Hunter was looking slick on the feet, and Fraley was coming in a little bit wild.
Another episode of Trash Talk. TJ O'Connor with me as always, my partner Damian the Wolverine Hill. And Trash Talk is joined tonight by Hunter Grizzly Peterson, fresh off of a clean 18-second knockout this past weekend for Driller Promotions. But first, Trash Talk is sponsored as always by Origin Wellness CBD, Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Shrinks Tattoo, The Fighters, and my mom. Hunter, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you? Sorry, we're also sponsored by Spartan Martial Arts and James Clark Sports Psychology and Sports Therapy in Fridley, Minnesota.
Cool.
I didn't tell you that beforehand, TJ. Now, how are you doing, Hunter?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I can't complain.
Yeah, doing good. I mean, I've been able to relax and just able to chill, and I'm excited for all the submissions that we've been getting for the end of the year awards, you being one of them.
Yeah.
Being able to go back and just assess that high card is just fun for me. How has it been for you now that the hard work is done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking back on Saturday, it was obviously a quick knockout, and for it to happen at the end of the year is kind of a nice thing to take into 2020. I've been working extremely hard these last few months, and the hard work doesn't really stop. After that last fight, it's just going to keep rolling on. I'm just really excited to hit 2020 really hard.
Yeah, and that's obvious, from our standpoint, we know the work that goes into it. The fans that bought the tickets, they see 18 seconds of work and they say, "Oh, this must have been pretty easy for you." Can you tell them the work you put in for this fight? Because I mean, you to go around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm usually training 2 to 3 training sessions a day. It's a very, very busy schedule with me. A lot of cardio, a lot of sparring, a lot of wrestling. This last year has really picked up for me as far as bringing everything together as one. It's funny, when I first started, I used to be just a jiu-jitsu guy. I only liked grappling, and this is dating back to 2012 when I first started MMA. I was afraid to get hit. I mean, that was the scariest thing to me. Now I'm kind of turning more into just a striker, but my wrestling is really coming along. So everything is getting built up pretty good these last few months, especially this last year. So everything's kind of coming together.
Wow, that's crazy. When a guy that's a jiu-jitsu frame finds their knockout power and just starts falling in love with knocking people out. I'm a huge evolution of the game, and just the guys that are able to knock somebody out but then ready for what happens next on the ground, and to hear that you're developing your wrestling as well, making it full circle, full-fledged mixed martial.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said it about me having knockout power, and I always kind of laugh because teammates will talk about it too when we're sparring. They say, how the hell do you hit so hard? I don't think it's I have this knockout power. I feel like anyone kind of has knockout power. I mean, you see it all the time in the amateurs. They throw a shitty overhand right with their eyes closed. That's knockout power. Mine's more timing and more accuracy than anything. You won't see me on the heavy bag doing hard bag rounds trying to develop power. That's just not my style. I've always been, a pick your punch kind of guy. I try to be more of a sniper when I'm in there. So it's not so much power. I mean, if you go back and watch the 18-second knockout, I'm not loading up on any of those punches. They're throwing with just perfect accuracy and perfect timing.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Perfect timing. And I mean, you it was something to where you knew what was happening. You knew the second you landed that punch, it was over. There was no follow-up. I mean, there's a beautiful picture of you turning around just with the look like you knew the fight was done. I mean, was it something when you felt it land, or did you just see his eyes roll back? What was it about that shot?
I mean, it's a lot of different things. I'm really aware when I'm in there. I don't have any nerves or any butterflies when I'm in there anymore. So I'm very aware. So when I hit them, they say if you hit someone and you knock them out, they say you don't feel it. With me, that's not the case. I know when I hit him, super good. So that was right away. I knew he wasn't going to be recovering from that. And I'm not one to try to dish out extra damage when my opponent's falling down. Plus, in a selfish standpoint, it kind of ruins the knockout a little bit. Then it turns into a TKO instead of just a knockout. So if I'm able to walk away as they're falling, it just makes more sense.
Oh man, dude, it's crazy the transformation you made from a guy that was afraid to be hit, that has everyone afraid to get hit by you. It's crazy that's how it went for you. And I mean, you talked a little bit about feeling that knockout punch. Is that something that, I mean, we don't like to talk about, everybody knows it's gym code. You don't talk about or you dropped a teammate or stuff like that, but the reality is it happens, So is that something that has kind of happened in practice before? And I mean, without throwing anybody under the bus, and then you started to feel it? Or is it just something that happened the first time in a fight? And then it's like, maybe I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen.
Yeah.
You just.
Yeah, it's definitely something you kind of you're kind of cutting out there a little bit, so I'm going to kind of jump in because I can't tell if you're stopping or whatever. But it's kind of something you just kind of develop over time. A lot of it's just experience, you know what I mean? And I totally understand the gym code and whatnot. But, regardless if it's training partners or, people you're actually fighting, you know if you hit someone hard or not, you know what I mean? So there's been times where I've dropped teammates and it's usually that right hand that does it. But a lot of times I'll kill teammates with a body shot too. There's a lot of different things I can do. So it's just, I've invested a lot of time in my boxing. I've had about 4 boxing matches as well, a couple kickboxing matches. So I've had a lot of striking matches in the last few years. So it's just something you kind of develop with experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you talk about that experience and talk about being so young as well. That's one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about because, you're only 24 years old. You've been doing this for a long time. So long, in fact, that the first time we met and we shared a card together was back in 2012. You weren't even 18 yet. How did that opportunity come into play? And tell us a little bit about that first fight you had.
Yeah, absolutely. It was back in 2012. I was 17 years old. I remember I really wanted to start fighting. I didn't know where to start. My brother just started training at a gym here, Academy of Combat Arts here in Fargo, and he got offered to fight an MMA card after about 2 months of training behind our coach's back, of course. And me being young and naive, I also wanted to do it. So that summer, I went and started training with my brother at ACA here in Fargo. Well, it was about 2 weeks in, and I decided I wanted to message the promoter as well, and I wanted to get on the card, which is probably the worst idea ever. My coach was pretty upset. Told me not to do it. It's not smart, and which is absolutely correct. So I went out there and I got choked out in about 30 seconds, and basically just fell in love with it. I mean, I decided right then and there, this is what I want to do. Even though it came off of just an embarrassing loss. I mean, Mahnomen, it was in Shooting Star Casino in Mahnomen. I mean, that's 10 minutes from my hometown. So there's a lot of people there. So to lose at 17 years old in front of, all your friends and family, when you're telling everyone you're going to be this big MMA fighter is, it really humbles you. So after that, I decided this is what I want to do. So I just started training for a long time until I had my next fight.
This isn't really even a question. I already know it's not going to be as soon as I started talking, but the mentality that takes or that speaks on that you have, dude, to fall in love with the sport after a loss is something entirely different. Most people wouldn't understand. I don't even think I fully understand because if I didn't win my first fight, I'm not saying I wouldn't have fought again. I honestly don't know how I would have handled it. There's some people in this sport that fall in love with winning, and losing is one of those things that breaks guys, but to fall in love with the sport and know that this is what you want to do, dude, after a loss too, just speaks on like the mentality. And then I think the performances that you've been having, dude, you truly have fell in love with it. When you talked earlier with us, how you started off as a jiu-jitsu guy, fell in love with knocking people out. Now you're training your boxing so much, and then also getting the wrestling base, dude. Like that like I said, that I don't have a question. I'm just praising you right now. I love all of that.
Awesome. I appreciate that very much. I mean, it's funny to go back and look, you know, because I don't got the prettiest record, and that's for damn sure. But every single loss I've had, it's kind of meant something. About 2 years ago, I lost to a kid named Ryan Ferguson, who trains at the Academy of Minnesota. You know, okay striking, but he's primarily a good, solid wrestler. He's really good on the cage, and you know, I didn't train off the wall, for that whole fight. And I remember, you know, he just kept taking me down off the wall. So after that fight, that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to start working on my wrestling hardcore. So now I'm working with, you know, Division I athletes that, you know, wrestle at local colleges here. And, you know, even a local high school here, I go there and wrestle on, you know, a couple days a week, you know, and my wrestling this last year has absolutely improved. And I don't think anyone I fight in the near future will be able to take me down. And if they do, they're going to have to struggle really hard to get me down. My last fight, or, you know, my second last fight, was in Detroit Lakes. So it would have been just last May against Thomas Vivering, who's a good buddy of mine. He really exposed that I've always been kind of a slow starter. I've always been notorious for being a slow starter, and he was the first one to kind of expose me on that, and he came out firing right away, and I ended up losing to him very early. So then my last fight, this 18-second knockout, that was me kind of proving that I'm not going to be a slow starter anymore. I'm going to come out firing right away. So every time I've lost to something, I've always improved it tremendously. So, like, you know, if it's going to be a case where someone's going to come out and wrestle me because they watched a previous fight that I got taken down a lot, it's not going to happen again. So that's what I've been doing.
I love that. That was, man, like I didn't even ask a question, and you just gave the best answer.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. Just you're so methodical the way you're approaching this. It's great to see the mindset you have, willing to take those losses and turn them into lessons and improve. Because as right now, it's just as an amateur level, that's what you're supposed to do, is fight the toughest guys. And I mean, and it's showing, like you said, every time you've had a setback, you improve on those faults, you improve and get the next victory. Moving forward here, you know, we finished up 2019, like you said, about as nice as you could. I mean, obviously in the running here for knockout of the year for the amateur portion. What are you looking forward into, pun intended? What are you looking forward into 2020? What do you see in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I wish there were more clips out on like the other like the nominations for those knockouts, because I want to see, like, you know, like I said, mine's more of an accuracy and timing thing, and to me, I'm a little biased, but I think those are the most fun ones to watch. Maybe not to the casual fan. A lot of times people like two guys slugging it out and one guy ends up falling. But I like mine, you know. It's just, like I said, I'm a little biased to precision. But as far as what I want to do in 2020 is I want to fight for the belt, obviously. You know, who's the 145? Nolan
Phelan.
Yeah, that guy. You know, I think that's a really good fight. You know, his striking isn't where mine is, and I know he's a good jiu-jitsu guy, but his wrestling, you know, I watched him versus Nick Olson, and it just wasn't, you know, it wasn't that great of a fight to me. You know, on both sides of it. You know, Nick, I mean, it was a shitty takedown that he tried to go for, and Nick didn't even go for, you know, underhooks on the wall, and then he ended up pulling guard. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me on how that would be a good championship fight. If Nolan shoots a shitty takedown like that on me, it's gonna be really hard for him to try to get me down on that. And that's the fight I wanna go for. I wanna fight Nolan for sure.
Dude, I would love to see that fight. That's a great fight, man.
Strong words. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that is a really good way to wrap it up. You know, what were you training at? Teammates, sponsors, family members that you like? Special shout out to before we do wrap it up?
Yeah, absolutely. I just train here in Fargo, North Dakota at Academy of Combat Arts. I got a lot of good training partners, a lot of good coaches. Head coach is Dylan Spicer, who's, you know, from the Academy of Minnesota. And then my striking coach is Joe Trottier. He's also my wrestling coach. I got a lot of good training partners: Cody Lincoln, Isaiah Morales, Nico Kalunga, who's, you know, a Division I wrestler. I got so many good guys around me that have been helping me, and I'm bringing a lot of new guys in too. There's a lot of big things that are going to be in the works for 2020 that I'm working on. So I'm just excited for all of it to unfold.
Okay, hell yeah, dude. Same here, dude. I really love that fight. I love that matchup. I can't wait to see how that plays out in 2020, dude. This is, man. I don't like to instigate anything, but
I could do that. Don't worry about it.
I would love to see that fight. I would.
Yeah, I mean, well, whether it's that one or whatever one is next, be sure to reach out to Damien and I. We'll definitely look forward to talking with you again. Maybe go inside the trash can one of these times. You're definitely an easy guy to talk to. Hunter, really do appreciate your time. I haven't even got best of luck. I mean, you already did it. You already won. I guess best of luck in the nomination for Knockout of the Year. Thank you again, everybody. Be sure to go subscribe to Trash Talk with Damien and TJ on YouTube. And also always focus on not being a hoe.
Are you listening? Damn.